Did you know that in California, after wildfires, instead of clearing debris or reinforcing slopes with concrete or steel, authorities drop hundreds of tons of straw onto recently burned forests? From helicopters? It sounds absurd, but this is how California tries to stop hillsides from collapsing after just a short rainstorm. When vegetation and root systems are destroyed, the soil becomes water repellent, and post-fire erosion can increase up to tenfold. In just a few dozen minutes of heavy rain, ash, soil, and rocks can turn into mud flows, rushing straight into roads, reservoirs, and residential areas. The paradox is striking. To protect infrastructure worth billions of dollars, the most effective emergency solution is not high technology, but rice straw, a simple agricultural byproduct. So why is such a seemingly crude material entrusted with standing on the front line of California's post-wildfire battle? Terran Works will reveal it all in this video. California is one of the most modern and developed regions in the United States. It is home to the world's leading technology hubs, industrial-scale agriculture, dense transportation networks, and infrastructure designed to serve tens of millions of people. From massive reservoirs and hydroelectric plants to crowded coastal cities, everything has been built on the assumption that nature can be predicted and controlled. That assumption, however, is steadily collapsing. In the 21st century, California has become not only drier, but far more unstable. Climate scientists describe this condition as compressed extreme weather cycles, longer and more severe droughts, punctuated by intense downpours that arrive within very short time frames. Instead of stable rainy seasons, water is increasingly concentrated into just a few hours or days, overwhelming both ecosystems and infrastructure. The period from late 2022 to early 2023 offered a stark example. In less than 3 months, unusually heavy rainfall triggered widespread flooding, killing dozens of people, cutting power to hundreds of thousands of homes, and forcing thousands to evacuate. What makes this especially striking is that the destruction did not occur in an underdeveloped region, but in the heart of a wealthy, high-tech California. At the same time, prolonged droughts, low humidity, high temperatures, and strong winds create ideal conditions for wildfires. As drought, extreme rainfall, and wildfires repeatedly overlap, California is no longer facing a climate crisis alone, but a dangerous feedback loop, one that is steadily eroding the very natural foundations of the state itself. And within this vicious cycle, wildfires have become the most dangerous link. No longer rare events, they are occurring more frequently, burning more intensely, and leaving long-lasting scars across California's landscape. Each fire does not simply destroy forests for a few weeks, it weakens entire hillsides for years afterward, turning them into latent threats the moment the rainy season returns. One of the clearest and most illustrative examples of this chain reaction is the King Fire of 2014. The blaze erupted in El Dorado County, in the eastern part of the state, and within just a few weeks scorched nearly 99,000 acres of forest. Much of it spread across the steep slopes of the Sierra Nevada. When the flames were finally contained, the disaster did not end. It merely shifted into another form. The burned area lay dangerously close to critical transportation routes and infrastructure. 11 Pines Road, which connects Highway 50 to the El Dorado National Forest, faced the risk of being cut off by mudslides. More critically, downstream lay Brush Creek Reservoir and Slab Creek Reservoir, key components of the hydroelectric system operated by SMUD, supplying electricity to hundreds of thousands of households across California. If sediment from the destabilized hillsides were to rush downstream, not only transportation, but also water supplies and energy production could be severely disrupted. Experts warned that just a few heavy rainstorms would be enough for ash, soil, and rocks from the burned slopes to wash downhill, clogging drainage systems, filling reservoirs with sediment, and degrading water quality. At that point, the damage would no longer be confined to the environment, but would cascade into infrastructure, energy systems, and the broader economy. Facing the risk of erosion that could erupt the moment the rainy season began, managers understood that they had very few options, and even less time. In that context, a paradoxical decision was made: to drop straw into burned forests from helicopters. No concrete, no retaining walls, no high-tech solutions. An agricultural byproduct was tasked with protecting infrastructure worth billions of dollars. On steep hillsides destabilized by fire, transporting straw by road was nearly impossible. The rugged terrain made access slow and extremely dangerous for workers, quickly ruling out ground-based operations. Instead, medium-lift helicopters were deployed and operated continuously. From the air, straw mats were precisely released onto slopes ranging from 15 to 60% in gradient. Each flight lasted only a few minutes, yet could cover nearly 1 acre of land with about 1 ton of straw. Thanks to this speed and precision, hundreds of acres were treated in a very short window, just in time before the first seasonal rains arrived. Seen from the air, helicopters dropping straw onto blackened hillsides can look baffling. What is rarely mentioned, however, is that this straw was never produced for this purpose in the first place. Every year, U.S. agriculture generates an estimated 200 to 300 million tons of straw from wheat, rice, and other grain fields. Yet only a small fraction of it enters high-value use chains. Some is plowed back into the soil or used as livestock bedding, while tens of millions of tons have no clear destination, treated more as surplus waste to be managed than as a usable resource. It is precisely this abundance that has turned straw into a strategic choice in post-wildfire emergencies. It is available in massive quantities, can be collected quickly, and deployed almost immediately when needed. But straw's value goes beyond sheer volume. Its long, hollow, lightweight fibers, once chopped and spread across the ground, interlock to form a natural mesh that holds soil particles in place and slows surface runoff. More importantly, the straw layer breaks the direct impact of raindrops on bare soil, retains moisture, and cools the ground beneath. This creates a protective microenvironment, giving native vegetation buried under ash a chance to recover and take root once again. Alongside broad straw mulching, another method commonly used on steep slopes is straw waddles, also known as erosion control logs. These are made by rolling straw or other organic fibers into cylindrical bundles, wrapping them in netting and placing them along contour lines across a hillside. The purpose of straw waddles is not to stop water entirely, but to slow its flow and trap mud, soil, and ash as rainwater moves downslope. Under moderate rainfall, these straw barriers can significantly reduce the amount of sediment carried into downstream areas. However, straw waddles also have clear limitations. During heavy and prolonged rain, their holding capacity can be quickly overwhelmed. If they are not installed correctly, they can even concentrate runoff at specific points, making erosion worse further downslope. For this reason, straw waddles are generally considered a supplementary measure, suitable for targeted locations, rather than a primary line of defense under extreme rainfall conditions like those increasingly seen in California. However, straw is not always a perfect solution. In some areas, straw supplies are limited, or local terrain and weather conditions make the lightweight material vulnerable to being blown away by wind before it can take effect. In such cases, managers turn to a more industrial alternative: wood fiber, also known as shredded wood mulch. In principle, wood fiber functions much like straw. It forms a protective layer over the soil surface, slowing runoff and trapping soil particles before they can be washed away by rain. Unlike straw, however, wood fiber is heavier and more densely structured. This allows it to adhere more firmly to steep slopes, resist wind displacement, and remain stable under harsher weather conditions. Those advantages come with trade-offs. The added weight makes transporting and deploying wood fiber more complex and expensive, especially when helicopters are required to spread the material over large areas. In addition, wood fiber decomposes more slowly than straw, meaning the protective layer persists longer on the ground. In some cases, this is beneficial, but in others, it can slow the natural recovery of vegetation. For these reasons, wood fiber is rarely used as a complete replacement for straw in post-wildfire emergencies. Instead, it is often combined with straw as a complementary measure, leveraging the stability of wood fiber and the flexibility of straw to achieve the highest possible effectiveness in a race against time and weather. Scientific data is the key factor in evaluating these measures. Studies in Europe show that when more than 80% of a burned land surface is covered with straw, post-fire erosion can be reduced by up to around 90%. Even when coverage reaches only about 2/3 of the area, erosion reductions still range between 70 and 75%. In the case of the King Fire, although detailed measurements were not available for every hillside, the treated areas did not experience the road and infrastructure damage that had initially been predicted. For land managers, the fact that nothing catastrophic happened is sometimes the most convincing evidence of success. That said, scientists emphasize that the effectiveness of straw depends heavily on timing, coverage density, and rainfall intensity. No single measure works perfectly under all conditions, and it is precisely this uncertainty that keeps these approaches surrounded by ongoing debate. Because of these positive results, straw and wood fiber treatments were quickly adopted in larger wildfires and under harsher conditions. But as the level of risk increased, the limitations of these solutions also became more apparent. After the Cameron Peak Fire in 2020, more than 200,000 acres of forest in Colorado were affected, and the threat of post-fire erosion became especially severe. Tens of thousands of acres across the Poudre and Big Thompson River basins were treated with straw and wood fiber to reduce sediment runoff and protect downstream water supplies and infrastructure. From a technical standpoint, this was a sound decision. From an operational perspective, however, the costs quickly became evident. Helicopter operations alone cost thousands of dollars per flight, and the total cost of the campaign was estimated to exceed $30 million USD. This forced managers to confront a difficult question. How much should be invested in preventing a disaster, and how long can public budgets sustain such spending? Colorado also demonstrated that even the most effective measures have limits when faced with extreme rainfall. In several heavy storm events, debris flows still occurred despite the protective cover. This underscores the reality that straw is not an absolute shield, but only one component within a broader risk management strategy. While the United States relies on helicopters and loose straw for rapid disaster response, on the other side of the globe, China employs a manual technique that has been proven over decades: checkerboard straw grids. This method is widely used in desertified regions, sand dunes, and erosion-prone slopes across northern and northwestern China, where strong winds and loose soils pose constant threats. Instead of spreading material flat across the surface, workers weave straw into small square grids, typically measuring only a few dozen centimeters on each side. Portions of the straw are driven deep into the ground, forming low walls that block wind and hold sand and soil in place. This checkerboard structure disrupts both wind flow and surface runoff, significantly reducing erosion and allowing the ground surface to gradually stabilize. Although labor-intensive and time-consuming, straw grids offer high durability and stability. They are particularly effective on steep terrain or in remote areas where helicopters are difficult to deploy and mechanized solutions are prohibitively expensive. More importantly, the grid cells create small microenvironments that retain moisture for longer periods, enabling native plants to take root and slowly replace the straw itself. The contrast between these two approaches, America's fast, high-cost, technology-dependent response and China's manual, resilient, long-term solution, highlights the fact that there is no single formula for managing nature. Instead, each region charts its own path, shaped by geography, available resources, and its broader philosophy of land management. The battle to restore California's landscapes after wildfires is not just a story about straw or helicopters. It is a symbol of humanity's relentless effort to repair the damage caused by both our own actions and by nature itself. Straw may not be a perfect solution. It is costly and full of limitations. Yet in the most critical moments, it becomes a lifeline, preventing a second disaster from unfolding. When the first seedlings push through the straw to reach the sunlight, we are reminded that this intervention has created a chance for life to return. But straw is only a temporary measure. The real fight lies in changing how we manage forests and how we respond to climate change. What do you think about using straw to save forests? Leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next journeys with Terran Works.